welcome to my van. This is a 1997 Dodge 2500 and I have converted it and outfitted it for camping and road trips. So back here we have a bed, storage space underneath the bed, storage space back here behind me, and lots more really cool features that I would like to show you. So come on in and take a look. So in the back of the van we have the bed, and that is actually a full-size bed. I know it doesn't quite look like it in this space for some reason, but that is a regular sized mattress, so we can comfortably sleep 2 people in here. And then under the bed, behind this curtain, we have a lot of storage. We have these crates that pull out, and this is where most of our supplies can be stored. But again, I have a couple different places for storage just because in such a small space, it's really important to utilize every spare inch. So I also have these compartments that open up by the edge of the bed that double as a bench, but then you can open them up and store small things in here. Right now it's just a bunch of screws and tools, but that will change now that the project is complete. So there are 2 of those compartments. And then there's another storage bin here that also doubles as a bench. And this one I built to be the same size as my ice box. So it fits right in there. And that is where that will live. You can open the lid of the ice box without taking it out. And then the other side right now looks like an auto parts store, but it is the correct size to fit a milk crate, which is where dry foods can be kept, so like snacks and Cliff Bars and whatever else. And then this box also doubles as a bench while we're not using it. And then the one other thing that's in here is, I guess the best way to see it is just by looking through there. That is the second battery, which powers all of the lights and the fan back here in the van. So we have these ceiling lights that are hooked up to that battery, and then this ceiling fan, which is a really important feature because that's what keeps the van from getting very steamy and humid at night. And both of those connect back up to this battery here. There's a light switch. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a light switch in here that controls these lights on and off. And then the other thing that's going to get hooked up there is an inverter so that we can charge our phones, etc. And that is something that I still need to do. So then back here is the bed, which is very comfy, and you get to have a nice view out the window when you wake up in the morning. I made curtains for the back windows that you can pull shut. And then we have these nice cozy string lights right above the bed. And this is one of my favorite features from local artist Will Smith. We have this beautiful United States map painted on the ceiling. So the plan is, the light's tough to get this looking as beautiful as it is in real life, but the plan is to put little red stickers everywhere that we take this van on the map. And then we can fall asleep planning our next stop. So, I don't know, I think that's one of the coolest features. And then also from a local artist, back here, we have our house plants. These are tiny little magnetic pots. I have 4 of them. And they are made by local artist Amanda Ann Palmer, who is also very talented. And those are real plants, and then they're those little air plants, and I will take them out before winter. I don't know if they'll survive in the summer either, but it's nice to have something green. And they are magnetic, so they can stick right on the van, or they were on my fridge in the house before they came out here.
So I put in these curtains that divide the cab of the van from the back. And you can keep them open while you're driving so that you can see, but then at night you can close them, and it kind of gives you a little bit more privacy, and also just separates the cab of the van, which is really ugly, from the back area here, which is kind of sweet and cozy. And then we also have curtains on the side windows. There's more storage up above the cab. So this van has a high top. So the ceiling's higher here in the middle, and then over the cab, it's the regular height, but then it bumps up to have that storage area. So that's also handy just in a small space. Storage is everything. So then I used beadboard, pine beadboard on the ceiling. I really wanted like real wood in the van. I love the smell of pine, and I like the look of beadboard. I just think it's interesting to look at, and it makes this space feel really cozy. And then for the walls, because they're not flat, this was like a massive, it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do with these, because as you can see, the walls curve. It's a little hard to see with the reflections, but the walls curve. And I could have just put, framed something in so that they would have been flat, but then I would have lost space and I wouldn't have been able to run the bed crosswise. So like right now we sleep with our head by that window instead of like lengthwise in the van, we sleep crosswise. And it was the perfect size to fit the bed. So I didn't want to give up even a couple of inches when I put the walls together. So I decided I didn't want to make them flat because that would mean sacrificing space. So what I ended up doing was using this 1/4 inch plywood. And behind it, I ripped 2x4s to be, I think I ripped them down to be about 1 inch thick. And I actually glued them onto the walls with 3M window weld. So that's like a very, very sturdy adhesive. And then I screwed this 1/4 inch plywood, which is very flexible, down to those studs that I'd glued onto the wall. I ran them horizontally. And so far it has worked. And then I was also able to screw the plywood to the frames of the windows, which are metal. And so far it's held up and it's working really well. So I would recommend that technique, at least as of now. But when it did come time to make the ceiling, I decided that it was worth sacrificing a little bit of height just to be able to use the beadboard and have a flat ceiling, which is kind of a lot less headache than it would have been to try to work with the existing shape. Because as you'll see in a minute, the outside of the van, the top, there's like not a straight line or a flat surface on it. So now I'm going to show you the cooking setup that I have. I decided that in the interest of keeping the build simple, I was going to not set up a kitchen in the van, partly because even though it has the high top, I still can't actually stand up in there, so that didn't seem like a fun way to cook. And it also just, cooking is a lot of mess. It's a lot of grease and spatters, and it just complicates things. So I decided that I was going to create an area outside of the van where I would be able to quickly set up my cooking stuff, but also keep the van itself simple and clean. So this is what I came up with. I have this awning that's actually directly attached to the roof racks of the van, and it just unrolls, and it has these 2 poles, and then if it were to be a windy day, it has some tent stakes and some wires that you can stake it down with. So it's kind of a pain to set up. It's easy with 2 people. It's kind of awkward with 1 person, but it works relatively well. And then for my cooking area, I have this set up right here. So you just open the back doors, and then this table pulls out. It's just on drawer slides. And so then you have this workspace. You're between the doors, so that will kind of cut down on the wind. You have the awning over you, and you have a table. And then
My camp stove just lives right under there. And just like that, built-in cooking area that also doesn't take up space in the van. The last thing that remains to be shown is the cab. Nothing too exciting up here. It's pretty drab. Just kind of the standard. It does have comfy chairs. The other feature that I'm going to add is I think it would be nice in the summer to be able to sleep with these back doors open right next to the bed so that you can get some fresh air and you can also just wake up and see hopefully beautiful views out the back, or possibly a Walmart parking lot, but I'll hope for the beautiful views. So I think I'm just gonna get some of those magnetic strips and somehow attach them to a piece of netting, and then I'll have a bug net that just fills this entire back door, so you can have all of that fresh air and no bugs. Well, that concludes the van tour. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you will let me know what you think. I did just kind of want to make the point with young women and young girls in mind. I just wanted to make it clear that I did this entire build myself. I'm 23, and I learned how to do all of this stuff just by doing it and reading books and figuring it out. I had help on this project with the electrical, and I had help with the mechanical stuff for the van, but the entire build I did myself. So I just wanted to make the point that kind of in like the cliche van life thing that you see on YouTube or Instagram or what have you, I feel like what I usually see is like a lot of young men who are building these vans and doing really cool things, and that's great, but I have seen far too few examples of strong young women kind of embracing this whole thing, or at least embracing the build end. So I just kind of wanted to make the point that it's not out of reach. It's absolutely something you can teach yourself to do. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about the build.